I have been asked many times this year if I will be starting a new franchise on the channel, and the answer is yes. For the first time since Madden 20, I am looking to start a franchise on Madden. I haven't started that many series over the past few years, and it's now been over a year since the 200 episode long Broncos franchise came to an end. That was, I think, the best series I've done here on the channel. But now on Madden 23, for the first time on the PlayStation 5, I am looking to start a big franchise here on the channel, and I have now decided on my team. It was not easy to narrow it down. I've been thinking about a lot of different teams this year and really exploring more of the mid-tier teams instead of the usual teams you expect to pick top 5, because I think mid-tier teams offer a different kind of challenge that we'll get into. So today, I want to share with you the team I have decided on this year. We'll talk about the roster and when I expect this series to get underway. So without further ado, everybody, this is my team for Madden 23. I will be taking control of the Tennessee Titans here in Madden 23. Perhaps this team choice will surprise you, much like my Vikings series on the second channel surprised a lot of people. But when I got deeper into the roster here of Tennessee, it became clear to me that this is the team I wanted to take over in this game. There were a lot of teams that I considered, so many teams. It really wasn't easy to narrow it down until I took a look at this Titans roster. Now, this is a team that was just the #1 seed in the AFC last season, and they've put together a lot of good years lately. The Titans have been a team that has been better than people expected over the past few years. They won 11 games in 2020, 12 games in 2021. Now, they won 23 games. Those were all regular season. They did not win their playoff games and scored 13 and 16 points in those. They were in the AFC Championship game back in 2019. So this has been a team that's played very well over the last 3 seasons and hasn't had a losing season since 2015. So what's the angle here? Why Tennessee? The Titans have been a good team in real life, and whatever you think about them right now isn't really important when it comes to Madden, because when I go through this roster with you, I think I'll make a very good case for why the Tennessee Titans, I'm sorry Titans fans, this is one of the worst teams in the game, and I don't think it's all that close. I'll take them over Chicago, but I don't think there are many other teams that I think this team is better than. It's expected that the Titans will take a step back this year. Right now, the Super Bowl odds, the Vegas odds have them as the 19th team most likely to win the Super Bowl, under teams like the Minnesota Vikings and the New Orleans Saints. Their Vegas win total is 9.5. And when you look at this team in Madden, I don't even think they're that good. The Titans are a team that, of course, is run through perhaps the best running back in the NFL, and that is Derrick Henry. He's a difference maker. He's been unbelievable. Stop giving me tutorials. We're only 2 years removed from him running for 2,000 yards, and he's a big reason why the Titans have had good regular seasons over the past few years. He's a superstar running back, and it's never fun watching your favorite team play against him. And I just listed every reason to be excited about this Titans offense. The Titans are a team in 2022 built to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and hope for the best. That's the best way I can put it. Ryan Tannehill, comeback player of the year a couple years ago. He's 34 years old and 83 overall quarterback. He's a solid starting quarterback. If you have good playmakers around him, I think he can be very productive and put up nice seasons. And when A.J. Brown was here, he was very productive with Tennessee. Losing him, I think, really hurts. It forced them to be very aggressive in the offseason, taking Treylon Burks in the first round, a player that I don't really think is going to give a first-round impact early in his career because he's a work in progress. He's a playmaker with the ball in his hands, but he's not the fastest guy on the field. He's not a great route runner. So with receivers like him, you always wonder, all right, how are we going to get him the ball so he can be that playmaker with his ability to break tackles and make defenders miss in the open field? But even then, that skill set for him isn't elite either. These are solid ratings, but I think overall he is very much a work in progress and only normal development off the bat too, which makes it more of an uphill climb. Now, they did bring in Robert Woods, and as long as he comes back from the ACL fine, he should be the top receiver on this team. There's really no competition. Robert Woods now on his third team, playing in his 10th season, and he's a great route runner. He's a guy that you know what you're going to get from Robert Woods. And I think the Titans this year are going to need a lot from him. Then we go to the offensive line, and it's okay. I mean, if you have two weak spots along your offensive line, in this case, a 66 overall starter, a 64 overall starter, that's not a good situation. I think you can get away with having maybe one weak link along that offensive line, but two, you start to push it a little bit. And then keep in mind, there's no elite offensive linemen here either. And overall, outside of Derrick Henry, there is a significant lack of elite talent. It's Henry, it's Kevin Byard, it's Jeffrey Simmons, and they're waiting for someone else to get to that next level. And there are a lot of normal development starters on this team. This is as much of a rebuild in Madden as any team in the game is. Let's talk defense for a moment here. You got Jeffrey Simmons. I think this guy is a complete stud. He's going to be very highly paid and a very good player, I think, for a long time. Sack numbers from 2021 are screwed up for everybody here in the game for some reason. He had 8.5 last year. He's a very disruptive, complete player, and I think the cornerstone of this defense. Now, I've always loved the great defensive backs throughout my life as a football fan, so Kevin Byard, the ball hawk, I'm a big fan of his. Unfortunately, 29 years old already. So, you're looking at a player who probably won't be ascending anymore in his career, but he's the guy that you want playing center field. He can make plays down the field, and we just want him to get takeaways, basically. 80 catching, you should expect some interceptions from him. He's a really good player. And don't get me wrong, there's some potential on this team, but for a team that has had Super Bowl aspirations, you kind of want some of that up front. Are you waiting for 2-3 years down the line when Derrick Henry's in his 30s, Ryan Tannehill's 37 years old? Robert Woods is already 30 coming off an ACL. Like, there is a sense of urgency with this team, but I think asking them to try to duplicate what they've done the last couple years is too much. When I thought about what I wanted to do in this game, of course, I want a team that I can do some building with, but when I took a look at the Titans, I realized there is so much you can do. There are 6 starters on defense right now with normal development. Some of them are veterans who probably won't get a whole lot better than they are, like Zach Cunningham, who's a solid player for run defense. Of course, they took Caleb Farley in the first round back in 2021. He's unfortunately dealt with a lot of injuries, including in his rookie season. 79 injury is, I believe, the lowest here on the team, and very few players go under that in Madden. So if he's on the field, I think he can develop into a really good corner, but you're always worried about potential injuries. Let's talk edge rush. They have some players here. I really like Harold Landry. He's a really solid edge rusher. Not an elite one, but definitely a high quality starter. And then they have Bud Dupree, a player that I felt was overrated going to the Titans. A good player, but I felt like this was going to be a move that wouldn't totally work out for them, and he's a 74 overall in the game. So You know that you're not probably having an elite pass rush here, but you're going to get something at least from Simmons, Landry, and Dupree, so there is some disruption there, and if they do their jobs well, that allows Kevin Byard to go get a few interceptions. And then there are some just decent starters across the board. A lot of guys that might not catch your attention, but we got Christian Fulton here in his 3rd season out of LSU, a normal dev starter. He's got decent speed, man and zone cover ability. Then at strong safety, Amani Hooker, 4th year out of Iowa. He has good zone skills as well. So with him and Byard, you know, I see 2 safeties who have the cover skills to be asked to do some cover 2, to cover a lot of ground. And I like having safeties that I can trust in those kind of roles. Offensively, we talked a little bit about Treylon Burks. But I mean, the depth here isn't great. The wide receiver depth, I mean, Nick Westbrook-Akina played a lot last season. He's an okay player to come off the bench here and there, but defenses are not going to be game planning for him. Austin Hooper is just a solid veteran tight end. I think that, you know, a reliable 3rd down guy at times. I mean, is 80 catching even all that impressive for a tight end who's not an elite separator? So I don't really see him having a lot of big games or anything, but he's a solid average starter. I can't sell you on this team being great in Madden. Whatever you think about them in real life, go ahead. But in Madden, I think this is one of the worst teams in the game. Now, one player I haven't talked about yet. Could he be the one that changes everything about the Tennessee Titans in due time? Let's talk about Malik Willis. 3rd round pick, rookie out of Liberty. The sky's the limit if he develops. He's got the arm, elite speed, but he played at a smaller school. He's got a lot of developing to do, but you have to be intrigued at the least with Malik Willis. And looking at the offense the way it is, I think he's somebody you have to involve in some capacity right away. On top of that, Willis and Burks, the 2 most intriguing rookies on this offense, have normal development, which means in Madden that if they're to ascend, they really have to earn it, and it's not going to be the easiest path. There's also Kyle Phillips here. I've seen some clips of him running routes at UCLA. Might develop into a solid slot receiver, 87 speed, 93 acceleration. You look around this team and you just see so much normal development. Also consider, this is a team that is going to run the football. There is no need for this team to pass the ball more than 25, 26 times a game, unless they're losing and have to. But behind Derrick Henry, do you have running backs that can give him a rest or make spot starts and be productive? Last year, they had to answer that question and had a pretty good year, I felt, from Deontay Foreman. Dontrell Hilliard, I like the speed and acceleration there. 83 carrying, 84 stiff arm. I think he's somebody that you could give a handful of carries to, and I totally expect to. Rookie out of Michigan, Hassan Haskins. Looks like he's more of a power back, and I think with a few points of development there, if you go and get some break tackle upgrades, then maybe he can also be a solid guy to give some carries to. But there isn't a good receiving back on this team. There's only one good route runner on this team. The Titans just don't have much. On defense, I really can't see this being any better than average, because what would make them any more than that? To me, your only chance is if you can get this pass rush to have a really complete season, and they have to stay healthy, and maybe somebody else has to step up as well. The first thing that I really wanted to do when I was deciding on my team was having the ability to build out an offense and specifically a passing game. Madden 23 really feels like it's going to be a pass-heavy Madden, and the Titans aren't really built to be a great passing team right off the bat. Also, I haven't been playing a lot of games on Madden over the past few years. I've been mostly just watching slow sim games on my second channel and my more GM experience over there. I don't play the games. So, a team like the Titans gives me a chance to build the kind of team that I want to build, but also lets me kind of get used to this next-gen gameplay with more of a run-first offense and a really simple passing game, which I think will just be helpful to me. If we look at some of the ratings across the board, this is not a team that has a lot of speed either. Derrick Henry is the fastest offensive player, and at wide receiver, there really isn't a lot of speed. Racey McMath, do we expect him to have a major role on offense? Probably not. Even the catching ratings don't stand out here. Robert Woods has 90. Westbrook-Ikhine has 86. But I mean, low 80s, no one's getting excited about that. There aren't a lot of elite traits on this team. Nobody higher than 86 catching traffic. Robert Woods is the only player to have a route running rating in the 80s or 90s. Let me go through that again. The next highest route running rating is the 75 short from Austin Hooper. Nobody is above an 82 release. What are we going to do against press man teams? 83 pass blocking is the best we can do? Nobody else in the 80s? Well, we've talked about this being more of a run-heavy team, and there are some better run-blocking ratings here across the board. So to play to this team's strengths, you gotta hope Derrick Henry can carry the load this year. If he gets hurt, this is a really bad football team. Two players have a block shedding rating in the 80s. How about finesse moves? 83 is the best we have. Power moves, 88 and 85. Danico Autry. All right, that's a good standout rating. Can he give us some pass rush at the age of 32? I sure hope so. 82 man coverage is the best we have, and that is at safety. Kevin Byard is probably the best cornerback on this team, and I also think he might be a top 3 or 4 receiver on this team. He has at least 80 catching. But yeah, I'm not sure how much more I can really hammer home the point that I just don't think this is a good team at all in Madden. And you know, they're coming off a few seasons in real life where they've been pretty good. Teams don't often just have those kinds of seasons 7 or 8 years in a row. It sure feels like a Titans downswing is coming. In their upcoming draft class, they are missing a 4th and a 6th round pick right now. So right off the bat, only 5 selections. And I think going through this roster, you can see that we need some starters and we need some depth in a lot of areas. So that doesn't feel like a lot of picks. Tough decisions might have to be made. If this team is about to enter a full-on rebuild like it looks like it could be, do you have to look at trading some of the only high-quality starters this team has? I sure don't want to have to trade Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, or Harold Landry. But when I look at the state of the roster, the upcoming picks they're missing, something's got to happen. And then you have an aging quarterback as well. I mean, come on. If the Titans won 4 games last year, they'd be a pretty trendy franchise team this year. But they were the #1 seed. Yet they're here anyway, in this position. No team, to me, that I was looking at made as strong of a case as the Tennessee Titans to be my team this year. On top of that, there's the added bonus of taking on or taking over a team that has yet to win a Super Bowl. I remember watching the final play of the Super Bowl many times with Mike Jones wrapping up Kevin Dyson, him reaching for the goal line, not getting there. That was their chance to tie the game. I always felt bad for the Titans watching that clip. Uniforms are always a bonus, right? Well, I do like these Tennessee Titans uniforms. These are their new set, but I think they've had good uniforms throughout their existence. Wow. That color rush set, man. We might win a couple more games if we can wear these more often. That is like such a good fit for me. And then these alternates, I like those as well. Like, they managed to meld together two colors, two shades of blue. Nice job, Tennessee. Here's your 2015's classic. I even think, like, their older set is very good as well. Always nice to have good uniforms. You got the throwback Houston Oilers set as well. Oh, yeah, here we go. These are the uniforms. Yeah. Titans are such a good pick for this year. So when do we get started? Well, I'm hoping that we can do so pretty soon. I'm not waiting for week 1 rosters. I'm ready to start whenever. I haven't done any slider testing yet, but I like the feel overall of all Madden compared to past years. And I will be testing out something this week. So possibly we're playing Titans franchise here very shortly, maybe by the end of the week. If I know when it's going to happen, I will put out a community post and let you know maybe what time I'll be posting it or whatever. It won't just be a random, here it is, it's now launched. I'll give you some notice. But I'm really excited to get started because it's been a couple years now since I started a new franchise on the channel. And I know that a lot of you have just been waiting and wanting a new franchise to follow up the Denver Broncos series. Now, for this series, I don't know what we're going to do in terms of draft classes, but I expect it to be the randomized ones. Now, will anything be different with this franchise from ones I've done in the past? I still expect to do basically the same formula that I have for franchise. You know, I will play every game. There will be no simulating in this series. But I do think that there is some room to experiment if a season is more of a lost cause. Say it's the final 5-6 games of the year, maybe you're 3-10. I think at that point, I do like the idea of summarizing some games and maybe doing 2-in-1 episode. You know, there was an episode in the UTSA Dynasty where I forgot to make sure I was recording the audio, and I just didn't like the idea of trying to do that video with like fake audio or without it with music, because it just wouldn't have a good vibe to it. So I just made it more of a recap style, showing off the highlights, the flow of the game. But I think that there's room to do that to speed up a bad season, to still show those games but not give them the full episode and the full time commitment. And then I've also thought about the idea of giving a couple games a season, maybe 1 or 2, more of a primetime treatment where I do an episode live. But I don't know yet if I will actually end up doing that. I think I did it once with the Broncos, maybe early on in this series. But I've always been kind of interested in that idea, and then doing some sort of edit to do more of a short version, but to maybe have a game that has more of a primetime feel, streaming it at night, and trying to make a big deal out of it, I think would be a fun way to expand the series. And then as far as everything else, I mean, I'm still going to do things pretty simulation. I'm not going to make trades that I feel are unfair or unnecessary to the CPU. I want to do this rebuild the way I've really always done it. But I'm excited to get started and excited to see your thoughts on this new series. The Tennessee Titans franchise is coming to Madden 23. I hope we can get started pretty soon. I'd like to get going. I know that's going to make it a real full house here on the channel with my UTSA Dynasty still going, with the Rockies franchise still going, and that series is, you know, a year and a half old at this point. So if I get the Titans franchise underway shortly, it is going to be a challenge for me to figure out how I want to balance all the series. But what I think is going to happen is the Rockies franchise will become more of a maybe twice a month series that has larger episodes, and it's more of a special format. But I am toying around right now trying to design a schedule for myself that can hopefully make sure I'm doing all the series I want to do and to do them all right. So I will be working on that, but I'm just excited to get a new franchise up and running here on the channel. I know it's been a long time coming. 3 years since the Broncos series started. The only series I've debuted on this channel this year is UTSA. So I've been basically starting one series a year in most cases. So it's kind of a big deal. But give me your thoughts down below on the Titans as a team for this franchise. Do you think it's a good fit? You know what? We didn't talk at all about the division, because I think the Titans in themselves are just a challenge. This isn't a strong division, but it could be. If Trevor Lawrence pans out for the Jaguars, if the Texans manage to have a good rookie class this year, which I love the players they took, and then add on with more picks. I think they have 2 first-round picks in 2023. Colts got Matt Ryan. They're a pretty good team top to bottom, so they're a threat. And then this AFC, man. Do I have to go through the quarterbacks that play in this conference and how much competition there is to get to the Super Bowl? The arms race in the AFC West? I mean, we're still a part of that being in the same conference. And I just think that the Titans' road to a Super Bowl is as long as any other team you'd want to pick in this game, outside of maybe a couple that are, I think, worse rosters. But there aren't many. I think this is one of the worst rosters in Madden 23. So with that being said, everybody, thank you for watching today's video. Please let me know below what you think. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for the upcoming Tennessee Titans franchise. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great day.